What's going on, everybody? My name is Riley Welch, joined with Danny G, the founder of Inkster, and welcome to the Inkster Podcast. So, Danny, what's going on, bud?
Not too much. How about yourself?
Are you not bad? I'm excited for the first episode of the podcast. I'm looking forward to this series of podcasts just to talk to musicians, industry professionals to see how their creative process is. And everyone's different, and to me, that's exciting, and I can already tell that people will love this podcast. So, for our first guest, it's a good one because this is the gentleman who connected Danny and myself, and he's one of my closest friends too, and he is extremely talented, straight out of Oakville, ladies and gentlemen. YASSiN. Yes, what's going on, brother? Or Zach?
Just surviving over here.
Yeah. How's quarantine life doing?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Barely holding it together.
Yeah. So, like, how is it different from before COVID, where you're out and about, you're going to like studios, you're going for writes till now? Because I know that, for example, Perfect Life, you had an idea for a video and you had to retool the idea and you kind of made it virtual, which made it to 1.1 million views on social. So that's so like, how is that different?
It's just a lot of Zoom meetings. You guys know, It's like everything's on Zoom now. I've had to do like editing sessions on Zoom, which is a nightmare. I guess the creative process is, I don't know. Creatives adapt quickly. They adapt faster than most people. It's pretty similar, or it's been such a blur where it just feels like the norm now. Where the only difference is things take a little bit longer, I suppose. So I can't just like go into the studio right away. Once I have an idea, I have to like wait, plan it, make sure everyone is like quarantined, has their 2 weeks, make sure they're COVID negative, and then we can go in the studio. But other than that, it's like, I'm still locked in my room writing songs. So
that's, because I can only imagine, because I know you personally, you love to be out and about, trips to Toronto and kind of go for it. So being from Oakville, what was like, how'd you get into music? Was it like a family member, or what was it?
Well, I mean, what was it? Well, I guess it was my oldest friend in the world and one of my best friends. My buddy his name's Eastman. His actual name is Gerald the Fourth. The Fourth? Yeah, but his middle name is Eastman, so they went with the weirder name. But I met him in the first grade, and then in school I was like the weirdo. I wasn't really popular. I wasn't good at school. I wasn't good at things in school. So, and my buddy Eastman was like the guy. He was, to me, at least this is how I saw him. He was the dude. He was super talented. He could play piano. He can sing. He was like a drama kid that people loved. And I always wanted to be like that guy. And then I watched him play piano because he was playing since he was 5. I started when I was 14, but I was watching him all those years. And by the time I started, I was just trying to imitate what he was doing. And then I just kept going with it when he decided to become a doctor instead. And that's how I learned music stuff. That's how I learned that I had any talent. I didn't know. I was just copying that guy until I was like, oh, I guess I can write songs.
What instruments do you play, Zach?
My main thing is always piano, but I play guitar. I can play basically anything I get my hands on. I can kind of figure it out. But nice. Piano and guitar, it's pretty standard. Like those are the ones I usually write on. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's because from a few years I've known you, you were kind of the behind the scenes of, building an artist. And then you had that one moment where you're like, yo, let me just do my own thing. So from Shame to Take My Time, which is a banger, absolute
you.
banger. Because there are two different songs, two different vibes to it, and like what transpired in between Shame and Take My Time.
Well, I mean, Shame I wrote like when I was 23, so it was like ages before I decided to do an artist thing. Like, as you know already, like I wrote Shame being like, oh, I'm gonna write a song for the weekend. That was my goal. I wanted to sell him the song, even though he co-writes everything he does. But I was like, fuck it. I don't know if I could swear, but sorry. I was like, screw it. And then and I just put it out. But that was totally my intention originally. It was, inspired by life events, but I kind of like angled it in a weekend-esque perspective. And then in between that, when I decided to make the move to be like, hey, screw working with or working for another artist, let me do my own thing. In between, I was just learning and growing like faster than the last 5 years, because I just got so much freedom of, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Oh, I feel like doing this. So I'm not gonna compromise on an idea. I'm just gonna keep going and going. And like, I mean, this too about me, Riley, of like, I don't like sticking to one genre. I grew up listening to everything, as I'm sure like us as you guys as creatives too, like they're not inspired by just rock. It's like these days it's a little bit of everything is dope. And so I tend to write in different genres, and so it was growing that way as well.
Yeah, like on that note, because you started off, because for you, collaboration is a huge part of your music, and especially from Sakub to now Sean, who is part of your last few songs. I know you know this, but for everyone who doesn't, this guy is an absolute gem. His voice is insane. So when it comes to like, as you mentioned, when it comes to like writing a song, do you try to push him into different genres, or do you try to play into his vibe?
Well, the way singers have come into my life, it usually, I mean, as I don't know how this sounds, but like it always seems like it just they show up in my life exactly when they're needed, in the sense of like Perfect Life. I had that song on the go. Like I wrote that for two of my friends who got engaged, and then I had that on the go, but something was missing. I didn't know what. I met Sean at a open mic in Oakville, and what song was he singing? Simple Man, by,
was it Leonard Skinner?
Yeah, Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Simple Man, and he's just with this growly voice, just belting the chorus, and I instantly thought, oh, that's what's missing from the chorus of Perfect Life. And I don't know, like, I never intentionally sit down anymore and say I'm writing for a specific voice. It just works out that it usually just works out, and I realize after, oh, this was perfect. And for Sean in particular, as I got to know him, he can do anything. Like he can sing and sound like anyone. He has this insane full like theater voice to a rock voice to a like an R&B falsetto. So, which is perfect for me, who writes in every other genre. So like I can show him any song and we can catch a vibe of like, okay, do we use your falsetto on this? Do we use everything, or do we use your like lower register?
See, like that shows that this plays into your experience. So you're one, doing your own thing. You're coming out as an artist, but you're also behind the scenes almost with Sean, because I know this is his first kind of project. So you're kind of pushing him and having that aspect too, where you're like, I'm doing my thing, but I'm also helping someone else. And that's one thing I do admire with you, that you know, collaboration is huge, as well as the songs. I remember the first few times you showed me a song, I'm like, okay, that's a different vibe. But like a week later, I'm like, God damn, it's in my head. It's goddamn in my head.
Right.
But I know you said like your inspirations are like wide, right? They're rock, pop, R&B, rap. So what, like growing up, what was that one person or that one artist that you're like, I want to do this for a living?
I guess it was, I mean, I don't know if it was an artist per se that
Or
like,
like a moment or something.
so the artists I grew up listening to, like my parents aren't musical by any means, but they're just lovers of music. So every road trip we've ever done, or like we're always blasting CDs and CDs of music, and it's usually the Beatles and Billy Joel, some Stones in there, and oldies, but mainly like the Beatles and Billy Joel. And so listening to those guys growing up, to the point of when I started writing, that's what taught me how to write a song. I was like, okay, this is the structure in Piano Man. This is how I gotta write a song. I mean, it wasn't actually like, basically it wasn't Piano Man. It was like Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. And if you know that song, it's 7 minutes long. So my structure of songwriting when I was younger, I was writing 8-minute, 12-minute songs of just nonsense piano.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that good, but yeah, the moment that kind of made me realize like, oh, this is, I don't think I realized I was going to like, I didn't think a songwriter was a job when I was 14. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. I thought you had to be a rock star. I didn't think there was an option to be like, oh, I'm just going to be this guy behind the scenes writing tunes. But like, in grade, I think it was the 9th grade, there was like a school assembly at my school. And I was put in charge of not even put in charge. I was like assigned, or I was allowed to play one of my original tunes on piano to the school. Mm-hmm. And after the assembly happened, I played this tune. And after the assembly, I get a message on Facebook, like before Facebook Messenger existed. So it was like a weird, like almost email from a girl. And it was like the sister of one of the kids in my class. And this girl was like, I love your music. I love what you're doing. Can you, like, how do I get that how do I get your song? I just need it in my life. And as a kid in grade 9 who had never really talked to any girl ever, I was like, oh, this is possible from just playing piano. So yeah. I think that was a confirmation for me where I was like, okay, something's going on here, because this is not what I'm used to in my life as a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, and something's changing. So I should just, keep doing it.
But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Cause I know that you still get those messages where you're like, it's true though. It's true where you're like, there's I think there was a teacher that like all of a sudden like, hey, we play the song. I think it was Take My Time?
Yeah.
Play the song every morning for your class or for her class. And it's just one of those like moments where you're like, oh, okay.
It doesn't really, none of the significant, I guess, milestones that have happened to me don't feel like that much, but things like that, like ever so often they happen and it clicks where you're like, oh my God.
For sure. It probably helps like justify and validate the path and the journey that you're taking, and the work that you put in, the hours you spend making this music and hearing it from somebody. And it's not just like, it's genuine, like, so comments like that, it's straight to the heart, right? So it's,
man, it's totally, because for me at 2, I tend to just dive into the creative process, and I try not to like, I totally have blinders on when I'm working. It's like, I don't care what anyone else is doing or what anyone else is thinking. I'm making this for me specifically right now. And so when it's out in the world, I don't know, I just feel free from it. And I kind of push it away. I don't like looking back on it anymore, because I'm like, I just put all my energy into it. I'm kind of sick of you. Now you're out into the world. But then it's these beautiful things, because my intention when I wrote the song Take My Time was like such a, like, I just wanted for myself to feel better and feel happier than I was in the day. And then you had to get a message. And that it was a teacher who, she messaged me saying, hey, every morning before class, I play this song and my whole class dances to it, which is like the sweetest, most amazing thing to hear. And I've heard a bunch of stories like that now. Like some dad DM'd me and was like, every morning as I drive my kids to school, we sing this in the car, in the truck on the way to school and stuff like that. And it's, I don't think I'll ever get used to it, but there's sometimes they're really nice because I see those and I'm reminded like, cool, this is, yeah, exactly what you said, Danny. It's like, this is the right path. Like this is, I'm making the right moves here.
Yeah. So as you mentioned before, once you're done with the song, you're not looking back. So once you released a song, which Take My Time just released,
yeah.
What is your next step? Is it another version of the song, or is it you're already thinking about your next like 4 projects?
Well, before Take My Time even came out, I knew the next 2 songs I wanted to put out. One of them including the one coming out tomorrow, which I don't know when people are going to see this, but on February 19th.
February 19th. Yeah. I got you.
So yeah, and that's the unplugged version of Take My Time. But I tend to I want to know what I'm doing next before the project is released to the world, because it's just a comfort thing for me. I don't want to ever feel like what am I doing now? So I just want to have everything kind of organized in my head. And they often change because there's, roadblocks ahead and schedules I have to deal with. And, COVID hits you all of a sudden and then you're like, what do I do now? But I generally, before a song comes out, know what the next 2 songs will be.
Yeah. And you mentioned it where you have an idea, and it's good that you have that comfort where I'm like, okay, after, Take My Time is done, I got this version coming out. And then after that, I already have 2 other songs on the go. But having that idea of your next projects, so going into one, do you know how it's going to be sound, like how the song is going to be played, how a certain instrument is supposed to be at a certain point, or is it kind of go with the flow and just see how things kind of roll out?
A little bit of both. I always I'm a planner in my own head, even though you just from you and I being close, I do seem chaotic a lot. I know that, but
yeah.
It's organized. It's organized chaos, though.
Yeah, but right? It's all I'm always thinking about the next thing.
Yeah,
I know how I want it to be in my head, but I also have been creating for long enough now where you need to leave room. I know I need to leave room for the unexpected or the curveballs or whatever you want to call it to show up. I don't want to have it 100% planned because it's going to feel stale if I do that. Especially when I'm collaborating, and you guys know this, it's all about collaboration at the end of the day. So when I have Sean in here, I want him to bring his heart and soul into the vocal, even though I have the melody done. I want him to hey, what if we try this vocal ad lib right here? Same with if I get if I'm in a room with Kevin Dietz and we're just jamming on some weird synthesizers or guitar tones, it's kind of okay, I know I want to get this kind of super verbed out guitar thing in here, but let's just wing it for an hour and see what comes up next too. So you got it. Yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. On that note, with Kevin Dietz, who we will be talking to a little bit later on. I personally seen you and Dietz start from the top of I think it was a chorus. So I think we were working on She Was. And you legit started off a chorus, and I saw that process of Dietz saying, yeah, no, this is how you do it. And then you're like, okay. And it just came out beautiful. And it's
right.
Just me being an outside looking in, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is creation.
And Kevin and I, he was the guy, the mixer, the engineer, not mixer, the engineer assigned to my first session ever when I was 17, and I'm 27 now, and I haven't worked with anyone else. So it's we know each other's kind of like workflow, and we like it's I'm all about loyalty, and I'm all about like, you know, it like, I guess just improving on the workflow or work environment, and you do that with just knowing each other better, right? And
we'll have to get both you guys on one day later on, and
for sure,
pick your brains and see what kind of collaborative process we can get out of you guys in an hour or something.
It's like a best friend test.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
What
But yeah, like Kevin and I have been working for so long, so it's like very much like if I have some because I'm not trained in anything. All I know from Pro Tools or whatever.
I know that.
You know that. And like, I have no skills. But when I'm on Pro Tools, it's like, I only know what I'm doing just through watching Kevin for 10 years. And even then, I'm winging it more than half of the time, and he knows that. And so when I say something or like about how I want a vocal to sound or a snare drum, I can say it in a very like nonsensical way that most people might not understand, but Kevin and I will be like, he'll know what I mean by my ramblings, and it's great, and I'll never not work with that guy.
Perfect. Yeah. So when you guys produced and worked on Perfect Life, which was one of the, for me, that song alone was like still number one for me.
Right.
From you, it's like a killer song. And then another thing where as soon as you hit like over 1 million views on that song, what did you do? Like, how did you kind of like process that whole accomplishment?
Well, I mean, it's a bit weird, and we've talked about this off air too a little bit, but like the day it happened, I knew the night before, like I would wake up and it was going to be at 1 million, because I just, from how the numbers were going per day, I could kind of, you can just calculate, okay, so unless something weird happens and everyone stops watching the video right now, it will be at 1 million tomorrow. So I woke up and I looked at my phone and it was like 1 million something. And like I said earlier, it doesn't feel like anything. Especially when you're planning for it. And I've been telling myself things like that would happen since I was a kid. Like every day, waking up, sitting at my piano, being like, I'm gonna get to 1 million streams, 1 million views, 1 million whatever. And if you tell yourself that every day for most of your life, it already feels like it happened. Like that's how it becomes part of you. So when it actually happens in everyone else's reality, you're kind of like, okay, cool, on to the next thing. But I'm also aware, I just for, you know, a man's sanity, you got to take a moment and reflect when those big things happen. And so that morning, I reflect and like celebrate, even though the moment doesn't feel exciting, but you know you have to celebrate anyway.
Now, from a business perspective, though, Zach, like, did you put any like marketing effort into that, or like, how did you achieve the 1 million? Was it just a viral thing for you, or is there something that you can share with other musicians and creators on how you actually achieved that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had ads running from the day the song came out to the million. Like I don't know, like to get something actually viral authentically so rare. Like, so I'm always, since the beginning, since the first song, I was like trying to figure out how do Facebook ads work? How do Instagram ads work? How do I get ads on YouTube? So I had all those running, and from my prior releases, I knew who to target because I knew where my fans were listening.
Right. So similar, like a lookalike audience kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
now, right now, after attaining the 1 million views, is the video monetized now for you? Is it bringing in some type of income?
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just through, and I mean, any independent artist would know this too. Like I release music on this thing called DistroKid, and there's like CD Baby, DistroKid, all these other distribution companies you can use. And so through there, you can, like, as you upload your song for them to put on stores, you can through their system we don't need to get into the details of the system, but while you're releasing it and uploading it, they'll give you options of how to monetize your videos on YouTube faster than the traditional. You need X amount of hours of viewership and X amount of subscribers. It's a start, but yeah, it's monetized now.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. That's really good.
Thanks, man. And yeah, I can't remember what the question was anymore, but
well, let me bring it back. Let me bring it back.
Okay.
So it's funny that you mentioned that you told yourself, I will hit 1 million. I will hit 1 million every single day, because when I was watching the Shawn Mendes documentary on Netflix, love it. He had the similar mindset of like, I will play the Rogers Center. I will play the Rogers Center. That's what he was saying to himself every single day until he sold out the Rogers Center. So the mindset, like I would love to take a dive into your mindset on like, is it just a simple, like, I'm going to accomplish this and that's it? Or like, how do you kind of like, kind of regroup, or how do you really approach your mindset?
Right. Well, I mean, we could talk about hours on mindset, but we talk 4 hours on mindset, but yeah, it's, you know, just since I was a kid, it started off with just daydreaming, right? It was just like imagining, oh, it's been upgraded, cool. But it started off as a kid imagining something better, or literally a better life than what I was living. And before it was music, I would just imagine something bigger, something more exciting than just this school and like, oh, I have to go to college now. Ugh. Like things like it just seemed boring to me. And I used to daydream about what life could be. And then it turned into, okay, here are the tools I have. And these are the things I love the most, with creating with music or videos or whatever. And yeah, it turned in it I guess it's like, it starts as some sort of obsession of just constantly telling yourself, when no one else believes in you, right? You have to just believe in yourself. It's a cliche, but it's true. Like, this is what I'm doing. No, I don't care about any other signs. You put the blinders on. What was I watching recently? But I was watching some documentary recently, and they're talking about this guy. It was Jimmy Iovine, and he talks about he doesn't care what any other person thinks, because racehorses have those blinders on, because if they looked next to them and saw another horse, they would miss a step and fall. And I can completely relate to that. And you just got to be focused, but like, you will feel shaky when it comes to your dream, but you just got to keep moving forward and staying positive. Positivity and determination will get you anywhere in life.
Well said.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, we could keep talking about it, but then it's going to be 3 hours later. And so hopefully that's a strong enough answer.
We'll have some special episodes just for Zach on mindset and collaboration.
We'll just say
we'll have the Zach series.
Oh,
is it? You know, the series will be called "It's a Vibe." It's a vibe series with YASSiN. It's a vibe.
Oh God, I'm completely okay with that.
Perfect. I love it. So, from shame to perfect life, no flowers. She was Take My Time. YASSiN, thanks for coming on. Where can people find you and your music?
Well, you can find the music anywhere, like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever Jay-Z's one is, all that stuff. You can, my Instagram is at YASSiN Fever, because, you know, nonsense. And YouTube, you know, just type in my name, it should come up. And yeah, that's where you can find my music.